What is going on, college basketball fans? Welcome back to another video. Today we have our updated Danieology top 25 for the preseason of 2025-2026. It's been 2 months since our originally first preseason, way too early top 25. I actually have a decent amount of changes, some teams that fell out, that some new teams in that I feel differently about, learning more and more about how these rosters have been shaping out. So I'm very excited to come out with my updated preseason. Still pretty early. Top 25. Without further ado, subscribe if you guys are new, hit that like button if you guys enjoy, and let's get right into it. Alright guys, so our top 10, here it is up on the screen. Make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are college basketball fans. We're getting closer and closer to the season, trying to come out with as much off-season content as we possibly can for college basketball. But once the season begins, we're going to be hitting it pedal to the metal and having a ton of content. There's no better place to subscribe when college basketball is in full swing, so just go ahead and do it now. But our number one team is going to be Purdue. Last time our number one team, I did have Houston and then Purdue number two. I flip-flopped them this time. I just think Purdue has so much returning players and the best point guard in the nation. Matt Painter really has him a squad that can get him back to the Final Four, and he has players that were on that Final Four team just 2 seasons ago. So I have a lot of faith in this Purdue team being able to be one of the top teams, if not the number one team in the country, a lot of this upcoming college basketball season, and have a good shot at making it to the Final Four. Braden Smith, I think, is the best returning point guard in the nation. You got Fletcher Loyer, who is a really good three-point shooter and a great two-guard to have on our team. Those are both veteran seniors now entering this season. Trey Kaufman-Renn, Oscar Clough. I mean, you got some Daniel Jacobson. You got one of the best front courts in the nation as well, and you got good wings. C.J. Cox should be a big step up player this year. He's going to maybe be a breakout player. You got Omar Mayer coming in. This is a stacked team. Purdue is my number one team in the country. Number two, we got Houston coming off of a runner-up year where they knocked out Duke in one of my favorite March Madness games I've ever watched. Definitely one of my favorite Final Four games I've ever watched. That was a crazy game. Knocked out Purdue last year in the Sweet 16. Just an amazing run and almost won the national championship. They're returning their point guard, Milos Uzan, one of their wings, and Emmanuel Sharp, Joseph Tugler, who was the Defensive Player of the Year last year, and they're bringing in a 5-star recruit, and it's Chris Senick. So, yes, they are losing guys like L.J. Cryer and Juwan Roberts, but this team is still bringing back a lot of players, a lot of experience, and you know they are going to have one of the best defenses in the country because Kelvin Sampson's still there, and they're always going to have one of the top defenses under Coach Sampson. Number 3, I do have UConn. I'm pretty high on UConn from what I've seen online and other people talk about it. People are high on UConn, like they're definitely going to be in everybody's top 25 for sure, even their top 15. But, you know, I'm definitely higher on them than most. Number 3, I think that Dan Hurley really showed last year, even in a down year during the regular season, especially early in the season where they had a lot of disappointing losses, especially during the Maui Invitational. They were still able to be a big threat in March Madness. They were a big threat in the second round to knocking off Florida in a very close game. They went out, and that was the team who ended up winning the entire tournament. And I think returning guys like Solo Ball, who had a breakout year last year, he is probably going to be even better this upcoming year and being one of the better guards in the nation. Bringing in Silas Damari, the transfer from Georgia, I think is a huge piece as well. That is a very solid backcourt right there that you have. Bringing back Alex Caravan for his senior year, the 2-time champion there with UConn. He kind of had a down year last year, but I think that the focus was kind of on him last year to really be the guy. I don't think that they are going to do that again. I think that he's going to play his role that he did when they won the national championships, and he is going to be great at it. I think Terrace Reed can have a breakout year, and bringing in 5-star freshman Braylon Mullins to play the 3. This UConn team's looking really good, and definitely a team that I think could win the national championship again this year and win it for their 3rd time in 4 years. I definitely think they have the chance to do it. I'm loving the way their roster has come together. I think Dan Hurley is the best active coach in the country, so give me UConn here at number 3. Number 4, we have our defending reigning national champions, the Florida Gators. Todd Golden is one of the better coaches in the game. He proved that last year by winning a championship, and he really rebuilt this entire backcourt very well by losing Walter Clayton and Elijah Martin. And Will Richard. He's brought in Xavier Lee from Princeton, Boogie Fland from Arkansas to get that inner SEC pool through the portal was just insane. Boogie Fland is going to be huge for this team, especially playmaking, and just retooling that backcourt to be still elite is crazy, and returning all of your front court. You're returning Thomas Hall, Alex Condon, Chin Yulu, and Micah Handleton off the bench. I mean, just a great front court. Florida is going to be a threat once again this year. Definitely have to be a top 5 team. I got them here at number 4, and really they could be higher on this list. You could definitely argue that. Those 4 teams, those top 4, Purdue, Houston, UConn, and Florida, I think are for sure, in my opinion, at this point in the preseason. Like I said, we're still way early at this point in July, but I think are your top championship favorites at this point in time. Then at number 5, we got BYU. You guys know how high I am on BYU. I've talked about them a lot this offseason. I think Rob Wright was one of the more underrated transfer portal pickups this offseason. I think that is such a huge get. He has so much potential as a playmaker and as a scorer. And then you got Richie Sanders, AJ Dibansa coming in. You got Keba Keita, who is a beast of an anchor, is going to be able to be that anchor on defense. And I just think Kevin Young, with the offense that he implemented in his first season as BYU's coach last year, I think unlocks so much potential for these guys like Rob Wright and AJ Dibansa, and we saw it with Richie Sanders last year. I think that BYU is going to be averaging at least 80 to 90 points per game offensively, and they're not going to be bad defensively either. I think Rob Wright can be sneaky as far as getting steals as a point. And then you got AJ Dibansa and Keba Keita, who I think are really going to be great defensively as well. So, yeah, I think BYU is a top 5 team for me right now in the preseason, and they are here at number 5. Number 6, we do have Duke. I fell off on Duke a little bit. You know, I think that they're almost a lock to be a top 10 ish team. Do I really think that this is the team that is going to win John Shire and Duke their first national championships since 2015? I don't think they have a championship roster, but I do think that they have a roster that they are still going to be a huge threat offensively and defensively with that system, and I think Isaiah Evans is going to be a huge breakout star for them and really be one of the elite shooters in the country as well. And they got Caleb Foster, the Boozer brothers. I think that they are definitely going to be a top 10 team. Do I believe that this is a championship roster? No, but I do have them coming in here at number 6 because I do think that they are a safe top 10 bet, especially playing there in the ACC. And then you do have Kentucky here at number 7. They've really retooled their roster. I talked about Rob Wright, and even more underrated transfer for me is Jalen Lowe. I think out of Pitt, I think that he is a triple-double machine. He has the potential to be that anyway, and he's a taller point guard. He's not the best shooter, but he's going to have some shooters around him. Ortega Oweh's coming back. They brought in Denzel Aberdeen, the transfer from Florida. Another really good transfer, Jaden Quaytons from Arizona State. He's a 5-star recruit when he went to Arizona State last year. He was only a freshman. I think he's phenomenal. I think that he is really going to reach his max potential here with Kentucky, and I think their defense is going to be a lot better this year as well. So I'm very excited for this Kentucky team. They're going to be a preseason top 10 team for me. At number 8, I do have Iowa State. I'm still high on Iowa State. I was high on them all last year, and it really messed me up. When I did make my bracket, that was probably one of my biggest mistakes, was trying to still take them to the Final Four, even when they lost Keyshawn Gilbert, where they're not going to have Gilbert anymore. They're not going to have Curtis Jones. They are returning Taman Lipsey, Josh Jefferson, Mom Silvic. That is going to be their big 3. I think it's going to be enough for them to still probably be a top 5 seed for sure when we do get to March Madness. I think that they are going to be a very good defensive team, and it's just going to be so hard to beat this team at home. Like, I don't think, that really goes for every year because Hilton Coliseum is such a hard place to play. They're not going to lose many games at home. I do think they have potential to be a top 10 team. I got them here at number 8, and actually is my third ranked Big 12 team behind Houston and BYU. And right behind them, we have another Big 12 team. We got Texas Tech. I think Christian Anderson returning to play point guard. That's going to be huge for them. JT Toppin, their returning center. He was Big 12 Player of the Year last year. That is going to be just so good for them. And then they brought in some good transfers. I think Lejon Watts, the transfer from Washington State, definitely an underrated pickup there. And Grant McCaslin is just a great coach, especially offensively. And I think Texas Tech is going to be a great team once again this upcoming season. At number 10, we got Louisville. And Louisville, another team that just really retooled this year, bringing in Isaac McNeely from Virginia, Ryan Conwell from Xavier, and Adrian Woolley from Kennesaw State. I think 3 phenomenal guard pickups, and then you bring in a 5-star point guard, Michael Brown. This team has so many guards. I expect their offense to be a top 10 offense in the country this year. They're bringing back Kassan Pryor. He was a guy that I was unsure if he had another year of eligibility. I think whenever I made my last rankings 2 months ago, he is going to be playing. He has eligibility, and I think that is going to be such a big piece for them to have this year. So I'm excited for this Louisville team. I see a lot of people, they're rangy on him. I know Joe Lenardi still had them at like an 8 or a 7 seed, which I think is too low. I mean, I got them as the number 10 team in my poll. I could be a little bit high on them, but I definitely think that they deserve to be a top 25 team. And if I'm making a bracketology, if they're a top 25 team, that means they got to be a top 5 seed. So I think definitely Joe Lenardi way too low on them. Maybe I'm just a little bit too high on them, but we will definitely find out. Next up at number 11, I do have St. John's. Let's bring up our 11 through 25. Let's go ahead and put them all together here. St. John's, I'm a little bit lower on than some people. I know some people are really high on them as far as like a top 5 team. I'm not that high on them, but I do think the big difference this year for St. John's is they have a point guard that is going to be able to play make, create his own shot, and also shoot. They needed shooting desperately last year, and that was ultimately their downfall in the NCAA tournament. And Ian Jackson is going to provide shooting for sure. I think that he has so much potential to really help the St. John's team. We know they're going to have great defense. Zuby Ejiofor is returning as well. Bryce Hopkins transferring over from Providence, and I think that the St. John's team is put together pretty well, and they could be better than last year's team just because I do think that they are going to be improved shooting, but they are losing a lot of their big wings like RJ Lewis, and we'll see if they are going to be, in Kadara Richmond as well. We'll see if they're going to be as good defensively. That is my question mark for St. John's, but I definitely think they deserve to be on this list here at 11. Number 12, I do have UCLA, and UCLA I think has a very good team this year, and they have an X factor on their team that I've been waiting to see break out for a while. We're going to see if he does. But they brought in Donovan Dent to play point guard, which is one of the best players in the country, in my opinion. I think was maybe the best transfer portal pickup this offseason. Eric Daly is a forward that I think has to break out this year. He showed a lot of flashes last year. He could be a double-double guy for him. Sky Clark to go in the backcourt with Donovan Dent. That is going to be awesome pairing. I think the success of UCLA is going to be determined by this X factor, and that is Xavier Booker. I've been waiting for him to break out for Michigan State. Hasn't done so yet. He's a 5-star recruit. He's going to be a junior this year. We'll see if he can break out for UCLA. Maybe that's what he needed to transfer, change of scenery over at UCLA. If he breaks out, this UCLA team is going to be very, very dangerous in the Big Ten. Next up in 13, we do have Arkansas. Arkansas really surprised me in the March Madness tournament this past year, and they are returning some guys. I do think that they could have been a top 10 team for me if Boogie Flan didn't move over to Florida through the transfer portal. If they could have kept Boogie Flan, this would have been a top 10 team hands down, but they are returning DJ Wagner, and they are bringing in his replacement for Boogie Flan, another top recruit guard, Darius Cuff, and I do think that that is going to be a very good backcourt for them. And then they got Carter Knox, Trevon Brazile, and Malik Thomas, another 5-star freshman coming in. This is going to be a very good team. Calipari has a squad. We'll see how he can do. I think the SEC is obviously still going to be really good, one of the top conferences in the country, probably the best or the second best behind the Big 12. The Big Ten is in the mix there as well, but I don't think they're going to be as good as last year, which is going to be tough to do because the SEC was historically great last year. But I do think there is going to be some opportunity for Arkansas to really be towards the top of the SEC this year. I got them here at 13. Number 14, I do have Michigan, and Michigan is a team that a lot of people have them in the top 10. Some people even have them in their top 5. I'm a little bit more iffy on them. I think they have a phenomenal coach. I think Dusty May is one of the best in the country, and I do think that he is going to eventually lead Michigan to some Final Fours here in the near future. This possibly could be the year. We'll see how they all group together, but I do think Elliot Cadeau was a good pick. No matter what North Carolina fans tell you, I do think Elliot Cadeau is great, and he's great defensively, and he's a great playmaker. I think Dusty May can unlock some more potential in them, and he can have a breakout season. Yaxel Lindenberg was a beast last year for UAB. I think that he is going to be a beast once again here for Michigan this year. And he's got a lot to fill in because they're losing Danny Wolf, they're losing Vlad Golden, so they really need Lindenberg. And Roddy Gale, Namari Burnett, they got good wings. I think this Michigan team's good. That's why I got them at 14. I just don't think they're top 5 level good like some people are saying. At number 15, we have another Big Ten team, and it is Illinois. Illinois, they got a squad, man. Kylan Boswell, they're bringing in baby Stojakovic, baby Peja, his son. I think that this team is going to be so good. They got both the Ivsic brothers, Tom Islov, and the Big Z, the transfer from Arkansas, which is his younger brother. I really do like this team, and I think that, I mean, most of the players on their team are like from Europe or from overseas. It'll be interesting to see what Brad Underwood can do with this squad, because I do think that this could be one of the best teams he's had since he took over the job at Illinois. And if he keeps going this route, playing all these Euro players, we're going to have to start calling him Euro Brad or Brad Islov or something, because he needs a nickname. But nonetheless, I do think Illinois is a real threat in the Big Ten this year, and they might be my favorites to win the conference if it weren't for Purdue. I just think Purdue is honestly that great. Then, at number 16, I do have Alabama, and Alabama is just one of those teams that I think under Coach Nate Oates, he is such a great coach. No matter who they have on their team, he is going to get the potential out of them, and they are going to have a top 10 offense. And I just think that is just going to be true this year. Aiden Holloway, LeBron Phelan, Latrell Wrightsell, I think all of them, and then the transfer from Miami, Jaleel Bethia. So many guards on this team. It's just hard for me to believe that Alabama won't have a top 10 offense once again next year. And if they're going to have a top 10 offense, they're going to outscore a lot of teams. I still think that they are going to be a top 25 team easily. I got them at 16. Number 17, I got Arizona. And Arizona is a team that they are returning Jaden Bradley. They are returning Del Orso. They are losing Caleb Love, but they're bringing in a 5-star recruit from in-state, Koa Pete, and I think he is going to be a huge part of this team and is going to be a huge reason why they are going to be competitive and be in the top 25 this next coming year. So yeah, I got Arizona here at number 17. Number 18, we got Auburn. And Auburn, I think a lot of their success is going to determine on Todd Pettiford. I think he's going to be a breakout superstar this year. I think he's going to be averaging a lot more points, and that's going to be so much fun to watch. I'm very excited and happy that Todd Pettiford decided to return to school, because he definitely could have been a late round pick or probably an early second round pick if he did enter the NBA draft. So happy he returned to Auburn, because he is going to be the star of the team this year. It's going to be super fun to watch. They are also bringing in a lot of good transfers. Kevin Overton, Keyshawn Hall, and Keyshawn Murphy from UCF and Mississippi State. They're going to have a really good team. Auburn is still going to be a top 25 team. Similar to Alabama, but in a different way. Bruce Pearl is such a good head coach. They still have a pretty good roster. I have a hard time believing they won't be a top 25 team, even though they should have like a slight down year. Honestly, if being in the top 20, around 15 to 20 is a down year, your program has an elite head coach. I'll just leave that there. Number 19, a team that I'm actually pretty high on, and it seems like day by day, week by week, as we go through this offseason, I'm getting higher and higher on, and that is the Oregon Ducks. I really do think that this is the biggest sleeper in the Big Ten. I think that Jackson Shelstad just has so much superstar potential, and honestly, if I see a sleeper player that could emulate what Walter Clayton was able to do last year in March Madness and really take his team to the next level, I do think it could be Jackson Shelstad on Oregon, because he does have such a good front court working with him in Kwame Evans, Nate Biddle, and they brought in Sean Stewart, which is another underrated transfer pickup from Ohio State. I really do think that this Oregon team could be a sleeper, and could be a sleeper to make a deep run in March Madness. I know that I'm already talking about March and we're in July, but that's just I cannot wait for the season to begin, guys. I want to talk about March Madness. I want to talk about college basketball, and I think Oregon is a big-time sleeper. I just keep getting more and more confident in what they are going to be able to do this season. Next up at number 20, I do have Kansas, and there is some new stars in Kansas, and I think a lot of people are going to learn their names very fast this season, and I got them ranked at 20 just because they are kind of question marks a little bit, but they could definitely, once the season begins, climb up this list fast, and I'm super excited to watch Marco Jackson. He's had some injuries. He's a former 5-star recruit out of high school, but because of those injuries, he hasn't really gotten to play that much, and I'm super excited to watch him play this year. Him and Darren Peterson, who surpassed AJ Dibansa as the top overall recruit of this class this season, they're going to be two of the most athletic players in all of college basketball next year playing on the same team. With them two and Flory Badunga, who is a very athletic center as well, we may be seeing Lob City in Lawrence this year, and I'm very excited to watch these new faces really take over for Kansas, because Kansas has been really trying to win through the transfer portal. It hasn't really been working out that great lately, but I think they really need to get the core of their team through recruiting, and right now that is what they are going to have, is a very young team that is just really made through Lawrence and not the transfer portal. So I'm very excited for this Kansas team this year. They're going to surprise a lot of people. I don't think they're going to be the best team in the Big 12. So got Houston, BYU, Texas Tech, Iowa State. They could pass teams or be on the level of Texas Tech, Iowa State. I don't think they're on Houston and BYU's level, but they're going to be very fun to watch. Next up, Tennessee at number 21. Tennessee is another one of those teams that's just always going to be super good under Rick Barnes. I don't know if Rick Barnes, how long he's going to end up coaching for, but he's been great for Tennessee, and they've made many Elite Eights the past couple of years with him. Bringing in another big-time transfer, and this time is a point guard, Jacoby Gillespie. I think he is just going to be awesome for Tennessee. Bringing in a 5-star recruit. They got Nate Emmett coming in. Just going to be a good year for Tennessee once again. I'm a little bit lower on them, but honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if Tennessee is a top 10 team most of this upcoming regular season. It just seems to be what they've been doing the last few years. Next up at 22, I have a pick that I'm not that confident in, and that's Michigan State. I've kind of went down a little bit on them recently. I don't think they're ever going to fall out of my top 25 during this preseason process, because I am so high on what Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr are going to be able to do this year. But it's really going to be their time to shine. They're really going to have to get the job done. And I think they can. You know, there's other guys like Carson Cooper, Jackson Kohler, who are really going to help in that front court. But I think Jeremy Fears and Cohen Carr are going to have to be the superstars of this team, and I don't know if I'm completely confident in them doing that. So they're here at 22 for now. At 23, I have a team that I'm pretty high on. Maybe the team that I think is going to be the best mid-major this year, and that's San Diego State. I think San Diego State's finally going to have their resurgence that we've been waiting for since they made the national championship game in 2023. I think they're in for a big season this year. I think they're going to be a top 5 seed in the NCAA tournament once again, because they're returning Miles Bird, Magun Gwath, which were just young stars last year waiting to break out. And I think they will this year, both at the same time. And also BJ Davis as another guard. Brian Dutcher is going to have a phenomenal year once again for San Diego State. You know that they're always going to have a very good defense. I think that they are going to be very good this year, and I cannot wait to watch Aztec basketball. It's only July, but we will get there. I cannot wait for it, though. 24, 2 more teams, guys. Mississippi State here at 24. Josh Hubbard is really the main reason, but bringing in Jaden Epps, transfer from Georgetown, is also going to help a lot, and they are going to be an awesome backcourt there in the SEC. I'm hoping they can finally get off that 8-9 line in the NCAA tournament, because if they can even just get a 7, or hopefully higher than that, a 6 or a 5, I really do think Mississippi State could make a run. I think Chris Jans is just an awesome coach. What he did at New Mexico State and what he's been able to turn Mississippi State basketball into so far in just his first few years, I think is just awesome. I think he's a super underrated coach, and if they can get a higher seed, I think that they can really make a run. Number 25, I got Ohio State. I think Jake Diebler's done an awesome job. One of the few coaches in the Power 5 that was hired on as an interim head coach that was able to keep his job, and he's been able to keep his job now heading into the second year as the actual head coach, not the interim. So he's done an awesome job so far, and I think with Bruce Thornton and John Mobley Jr. is going to be entering his sophomore year, who was a super underrated freshman last year and a great three-point shooter. I think that they're primed to really be a solid team this year in the Big Ten and definitely make the NCAA tournament. I got them at number 25 entering this year. I got a few honorable mentions, guys. We got Creighton, who I think is always going to be in the mix for a top 25, especially under Coach McDermott. You got Gonzaga, who is returning a lot of guys from their front court, but they struggled a little bit last year, and they lost Ryan Nembhard, which was a massive piece to that team. So I have some question marks there. Ole Miss, I think is going to be good with Chris Beard, but their roster definitely has some question marks. I do think that they could definitely be a top 25 team this year. Maryland, new coach, and Buzz Williams, completely new team, but he brought some guys over with him from Texas A&M, so I definitely think Maryland could be a top 25 team as well. USC, I think this is going to be the year Eric Musselman returns to being a good team and back in the NCAA tournament with USC. Will they be in the top 25? Possibly. I think that they do have a squad, and they got some good freshmen coming in, especially Elijah Arenas. Super excited to see him play. And NC State. NC State, they've done some awesome things this offseason, bringing in their new coach, bringing in a ton of top transfers. I think NC State could be the 3rd best team in the ACC this year, but I definitely think that they will be in the NCAA tournament this year. But that is going to do it for my updated early preseason top 25, guys. We're going to come out with these probably like once a month or so, but as we get closer and closer to college basketball season, they'll be coming out more often, guys. Yeah, if you guys are big fans of college basketball, this is definitely the channel for you, so definitely hit that subscribe button, guys. And yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching.